How does a seasoned landlord reinvent themselves in today's market? Stay tuned. Well, thank you so much for tuning in today for this week's episode of Note School TV, where every week when 11:05 Central Time on Wednesdays, we bring you the most amazing guests as well as the most amazing contents. And today is no different. I have a couple of great guests today, and we'll get to them in just a minute. Before we do, make sure and like the episode. Boom, hit that like button. Hit the bell notification so that you will know, well, every week when we are going live. Boom, yep, go ahead and hit that. And if you have not already subscribed to Note School TV, go ahead and do that. And you've got over 3 years of episodes that Eddie and I and our amazing guests have been through. So quite a library, a lot to learn there. So if you would like to know more about what we do at Note School, simply go to noteschool.com/TV. Again, noteschool.com/TV. And please make sure, if you liked what you see today, if you've got something you want to say, please just let us know. Just type that into the question board. Yes, that's me typing, right? Type that into the question board or the comment board. We love to hear from you. So with that, I'm going to bring on our esteemed leader, founder of Note School, Chief Visionary Officer, my friend, Mr. Eddie Speed.
Good morning, Joe.
How are you this morning, sir?
It's all good. It's all good. We're continuing with a little January here in Texas. Our guests are in Oklahoma City, and they have a lot more ice to boast about. But
yes,
this happened this week. But no, we're all good. We're grateful. I literally can tell people that the stuff that I'm seeing in the market, if you can't see this enthusiasm in my face, I'm just not doing a good job of being all that I need to be, because we are seeing some really great stuff that is taking the industry in our direction. So, Joe, we got a little news.
Yeah, let's jump into the news. So we have a story here from BizNow. And this dates back to March of 2023, Eddie, when, we had Signature Bank, which was a commercial bank in New York, and then we had Silicon Valley Bank fail within a couple of days of each other. And so Blackstone had bought some of those, a portion of those loans, $1.8 billion of their commercial loans that they had on their books. So, we can see here that, property loans most backed by apartment buildings, right? And we're not just picking on apartment buildings, are we, Eddie? Or multifamily?
Well, I mean, listen, we've been talking about it. The banks were the lion's share of commercial lending, including for multifamily.
Mm-hmm.
About 70% of the market.
Yep.
And there's been a lot of controversy about banks cleaning up their balance sheets. Well, in this case, this was a failed bank.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to see a lot of these discounted loans in the secondary market secured by commercial properties, as well as the stuff that you hear me talking about every day. We've already seen a lot of the residential side.
Yes.
People say, well, are you guys going to play in that space? And the answer is we are. Well, when are you going to play in that space?
That's right.
When we get a better read on how far the knife is going to drop. Values on multifamily properties dropped, in the high teens,
yes,
year over year.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that was last year. I mean, it dropped basically just under 20%.
Yes.
And the question is it done dropping? And the answer is, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
And so you got to go price it, reading the tea leaves going forward a little bit. And so the answer is, I'll guarantee you that somebody has the wherewithal to to go bid on this portfolio or to go bid on a loan in this portfolio, they're going to be reading the same tea leaves we're reading.
Yeah, well, they just don't know is by the second statement there, when these things sell again or when assets start being foreclosed upon. So nobody knows where the market is going with those. And Eddie, another interesting fact in this article is FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, has just announced what the top 100 banks that had $5 billion or more in assets are going to have to divvy up the $16.3 billion that the FDIC had to cover. So these other banks, well, KeyBank out of Cleveland, their portion is $190 million. They're going to have to pull out of their earnings in order to help, cover that $16.3 billion that the FDIC paid out on the uninsured deposits from Silicon Valley Bank as well as Signature Bank. So there's another unintended consequence, maybe.
No comment.
Yeah, for sure.
I think I don't even know what to say about that.
Yeah, well, I
guess
got to come from somewhere.
I guess when you have an FDI insured bank, you probably signed some documents and agree some things that, looking back, you can't quite believe that could have happened, but maybe it could. So,
yeah,
all right, lots to be said about these scratch and dent loans, right?
Yep.
You've heard of scratch and dent appliances, right, Joe?
Oh, yes, sir.
Scratch and dent loans, and we've been trading these things for a long time.
Yep.
And there's a lot of asset classes we're seeing it with, and multifamily are definitely going to be part of that. So, as you said, we're not trying to pick on our multifamily guys. We're just trying to call the market what the market is.
It is, and it's a thing, and we're certainly going to stay on top of how you can best capitalize on that.
All right, we got some great students.
We do.
Are going to be our guest today. They have a great case study. I love your teaser, which basically said, a landlord in today's market, what's his options? Well, one of the things he might do is there's a strategy he could use that would reinvent his existing landlord model, which is he becomes the bank. So you guys are going to love this couple as much as Joe and I do, I'll bet, because they just really have a sweet spirit and just a great story. And they're awesome.Ey're from Oklahoma City, right? You guys welcome Emily Thompson and Jason Cameron. Hey, guys.
Hello, how are we doing?
Well, I didn't tell them, Emily, you're a character, but you are.
She is a character. Yeah.
He's rubbed off on me quite a bit.
Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm completely straight laced.
He's the quiet one that's the trickster.
Yes. Yeah. And then of course we've got her email address, Eddie, is Dr. Cornea, right? As in
So Emily, you're an eye doctor.
Yes, sir.
Jason, you're a recovering engineer. Right?
Yeah, 20 years in IT will do that to you.
Yeah. But you are a full-time real estate investor, particularly on a rental portfolio. And it's really funny, Jason, because I've seen this morph. Well, you came into note school because Emily was really focusing on how she could go buy notes because it's a lot less time commitment and work commitment. And so she's a busy eye doctor, right?
Right.
And then you're just continuing to observe, right? Continuing to kind of hang out with us and observe it and stuff. And what you chose to do on an asset that we're going to have a case study on today is what we've seen a lot of landlords do, right? And that is you have jumped the fence and you've gone from how do you monetize a property? And one way is to rent your way out of it. And the other one is you can note your way out of it, right?
Right.
One thing that we like to do, and you guys know this, is we like to send a little questionnaire out before the thing because we really want to know, like, when you saw this business, like, what was important to you, right? Like, what did you see? Because a lot of times it so relates to what our audience is thinking, right? Mm-hmm. When I've read that thing, and if I took a highlighter, it had cash flow written all over it. Apparently, cash flow
My
was
favorite.
king.
Yes, it's my favorite thing. I don't care about gambling, which is what I consider flipping.
Yeah.
Or purchasing real estate for a hoped for appreciation. If it doesn't give me cash at the end of the month, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Well, I get that, and I appreciate it. You guys are a growing audience of people that you came in as a couple. You were seasoned real estate investors. You weren't necessarily rookies, but Emily, your story so relates because you're a busy eye doctor, right? And people are looking for not really a part-time job, but a strategy that they can implement on a very part-time basis.
Yep. And I have a good partner. So if I have things that need to be done, quickly during the day, call them up and be like, hey, got to do this for me.
Emily, you realize that when there's a lot less work in these notes than there are in rentals, right? You know that, right?
I have realized that, especially since he spent all morning laying flooring.
Yeah.
And I just kick back and I'm like, what am I going to fill my time with today since I'm off work?
Yeah, that's great. All right. Well, we are so glad you guys are here. Joe, let's pull this PowerPoint slide up and you guys tell us. So we have a case study competition every year. And it is at part of Note Expo, and you guys were participants in this case study competition. And it's kind of ironic because this week you guys have had an ice storm up in Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
And this property's story changed because of kind of a similar thing, wasn't it, Jason?
Yeah, it roughly 2 years ago during the same time of year, we had a cold snap, and that particular property has an addition in the back, and the pipes underneath it, the copper pipes burst, and it wasn't something I could fix because the only way to do it was literally rip up all the flooring, the subflooring, or reroute everything and rebuild it. So I ended up telling the tenant, we're ending your lease at the end of the next month. And then I would start rehabbing it.
Yeah.
All right. So Jason, we were talking about this property and you kind of have a formula in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure being with your background, you probably have it written down. It's probably a written down process too, but you've got kind of a formula that says when you want to keep a property as a rental or when you might consider maybe like owner financing and selling. Now, this is a good looking house, Jason. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a really nice house. The criteria I was talking about earlier is primarily on the size. So as a landlord or property manager, my client is the people who live in my places, and for the purposes of that size house and the number of people that want to rent a house that size, it just was too small, so it was hard to rent.
Okay.
And I didn't like that because any landlord who's listening probably can tell you, yeah, vacancy kills.
All right.
Yep.
So Jason, you had to go spend a lot of money fixing this house up, right?
Have to, no, but my business strategy, I do nicer rehabs to reduce that vacancy. Right. So I could have done a cheaper rehab probably, but I like to fix things so that I don't have to redo the work.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of why that cost is so high. I didn't have to add air conditioning right in the middle of the most expensive time for purchasing an air conditioner. I did have to redo the plumbing and, then some other changes to make it more functional. And partway through that is when we decided I only owe $22,000 on this house. If I get a decent down payment, I can get rid of it and remove something from my portfolio that at that point I would never buy this house again today as a rental.
You would buy it to note it though, wouldn't you?
Yes, as a rental, I would never buy that property.
Right. But that's changed the dimension because now you have two models.
Correct.
You can buy it and rent it, or you can buy it and resell it and owner finance it. Right.
I convinced him to upgrade a little bit so that it was a little bit nicer, just in case we said, oh, we'll list it on the market for a couple of months. And then if it doesn't sell, we'll just rent it out like we had before.
Yeah. All right. So you had collected some money in rent and you had done good in that regard. Okay. So let's look at let's look at, if you will, that's kind of where you were. That's kind of your rental history side. Now let's progress forward with, you fix it up and you're running the model and you said, why don't we just sell it? Okay. And so you rehabbed it, you got it on the market for about this time last year.
Mm-hmm.
And you had it professionally underwritten. So you called a third-party vendor to go gather the financial information, underwrite the buyer. I want to talk a little bit about finding the buyer. How difficult was that?
It was ridiculously easy from my perspective, simply because most of the time Emily delegates to me. This time I delegated to her and said, hey, can you post this?
It was very easy for him because I did that work.
Yeah.
So I had posted it on Facebook Marketplace, and we did get one or two people that were interested. One of them clearly wasn't going to qualify. She didn't have any money. And then I think after maybe 3 or 4 weeks, we decided to put it on Craigslist, and that's when we got a few more hits. So even though Facebook Marketplace is more popular these days, don't forget about Craigslist because that was where we found our end buyer.
Yeah. So people don't really think about this, but y'all realize that like only 50% of the people that could qualify for a conventional mortgage before the virus can qualify today. So there's a lot of people left behind, right? Yeah. When people think about seller financing, I'm going to seller finance kind of the guy that can't get a loan at the bank. Mm-hmm. Well, and we sort of think like that in a little bit of a negative tone, like that means that they're bad. No, it just means they've been left behind, and that doesn't mean they have bad credit or a bad history or problems. And so we have found this, that really, we call them a penalty box buyer, right, guys?
We do.
And we have found that really is, the case overall. All right. So let's talk about, so you sold the property, you sold it for $151,000. You did not get a giant down payment. Right. You got 10% down.
10%, basically. Right? Yeah.
So then you got $15,000 at the closing, and about
a $1,200 payment.
A $1,200 payment. And what would it rent for?
At that time, today it would probably rent for about the $1,200 we're getting, but at that time it was between $1,000 and $1,050 per month.
Okay. The point being, we've made this point on the show many times. The point being, guys, when you're seller financing, their mortgage payment very likely is going to be more than it would rent for. Right. And by the way, on top of their mortgage payment, they still have to pay taxes and insurance. Right. So people to own a house for the same property are going to pay more to own it than they are just to rent it. Well, wait a minute. For Jason and Emily, that turns out to be a pretty good deal because you're the bank. You get a higher payment and you don't have any expenses against it.
That's right.
Where if you had a rental, you'd have a lot of expenses against it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is why you underline that cash flow thing, Jason?
Yes.
Over and over and over.
Well, the question was the same over and over and over. So I kept saying cash flow, cash flow, cash flow.
Yeah. So here's something that's pretty interesting. The first year, you got a down payment and a net income. You made $30,000 income on this deal in the first year you sold it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to year 4 because that's when all of my rehab costs have been paid back as well. And then I've got somewhere between 26 and years of somewhere around 26 years of cash flow for free.
2 or 3 things I'm going to tell you, Jason, and I know you have a fairly significant rental portfolio, and I'm not telling you to go sell everything you've got, but I am going to say this to you. When you can get a higher payment and no expenses, that is a better model than a lower payment, and a lot of that payment goes to pay expenses. That's a rental. This is seller financing, right? The second thing is when you're netting $14,000 a year, then it's a matter of how many of these do I need to have all of my expenses covered, all of my burn rate that we would spend and that's how, you know, you look up and say, all of my income is made. Literally think of it this way. If you could say, Emily, all my income is made on January 1st of every year, because I have enough note income that year coming in that I know that I don't have to go chase another. I don't have to close one more deal just to know that all of our expenses are covered. Our income is covered. My father-in-law told me that when I was a young man.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what, to add to that story, then he would say, Jason, now you can go make a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. When you don't have to get up in the morning.
It was surprising. This is a backstory on the landlording career. I had a coach, and he had given me a great deal of work to do. And at that time I was still fully employed doing IT work, which is not exactly a 40-hour-a-week job on most days. And I actually went into my boss and said, during our annual performance review, when they were giving me a raise, thank you for that raise. I would like a 20% pay cut. So that I could buy back one of my days, which I did that. And then approximately a year and a half later, I had finished replacing my entire day job income, which freed up a lot more time for chasing other opportunities. Yeah. Both the first getting one day back and then getting the other 4.
Well, and that led you to that stage. And now you're at a stage where you're finding yourself making a conscious decision to seller finance property. And you are then going to figure out down the road that one of the things that you've mentioned is you left your corporate job, you needed more time, you know, you had to go work on something. Emily kind of told on you this morning, you had to stop and go do something, you know, before you could come back and film the show with us. And the answer is, Jason, you can manage 1,000 notes for the same work horsepower that you can manage 100 rentals. And so the answer is it does give you your time back, just because it's just easier to be the bank than it is a landlord, right? Nothing against being a landlord. It's just when you match up these businesses, that's what it is. So once again, I'm not telling you to sell your whole rental portfolio, but I'll bet you in this year, I bet you make a conscious decision. I bet you make a conscious decision to do this a few more times, right?
Yeah, I actually got 2 phone calls I need to make later today or tomorrow for working on deals, purposely being interested in buying a property simply to create notes out of it.
That's excellent.
And, you know, guys, we're seeing this over and over and over. Eddie, earlier I had a huddle call with some of our new students, and Jesse that joined us back in December in the membership, he just sold his first. He said, I've been collecting rentals since 2010. And he said, I just sold my first one. And he said, that was, you know, that was an amazing thing. So there you go. Yeah.
Well, once again, you know, we have a lot of people, the Note School members that started out in the world, Jason, that you came in from, and that is rentals and stuff. Emily, I want to talk about your situation for a minute, right? Sure. So you're an eye doctor, you're busy. You joined Note School, and as we said, you know, we're honored. Jason, the thing I loved about you is you sort of initially said, well, this is going to be kind of Emily's thing, but you've always come along. You've come on these trips with her. You've been at many of our events. And so you're smart and you've absorbed and you obviously are applying it well. But Emily, when you made this decision, what were you looking for?
Well, I'm fundamentally lazy. And this seems like a lot more of a lazy way to make money than what he's been doing. So we first heard about note investing during his coaching class. Like, it was probably pretty early on, within the first couple of months. His coach's coach was talking to us and said, just casually, "Oh, I do some note investing on the side." And I'm like, "What is that? Tell me more about that." Because I don't have the time to go looking at dirty houses, stinky houses, and measuring things and calculating like how much flooring to buy and stuff like that. So that's what was really appealing to me about notes, is that you can do it from anywhere in the country, and you don't have to be there to make good decisions, because there's always vendors that you can find to get you the information that you need. So it seems more like white collar than what he's doing.
Well, no, I mean, we kind of said it. It's just there's a difference between the activities of being the bank and the
Right.
activities of being a landlord.
It
right?
takes less time, less hands-on time.
All right, so that's kind of why you came to Note School, is that was intriguing.
Yes.
What were you looking for Note School to help you with?
Well, we didn't really know what note investing was. So we came to just learn all about the process of creating notes and what to look for when we're purchasing notes. We really had no idea what notes were, other than, oh, hey, I bought a house, I've got a mortgage. We've got a few mortgages. And so we had heard really good things about you, Eddie, and all of the instructors. And so we really just wanted to jump in and learn as much as we could.
That's awesome. When did y'all join?
What was that?
When did y'all join?
December 2021, very end of December.
So
the fundamental reason for it, from my perspective, to jump here in on this, I after working really hard for about a year and a half, and not getting very far in my investing career, we purchased that coaching program. And within a year and a half, I had replaced a not small salary in real estate, and learning that, accelerating my timeline.
Yeah.
It was worth every dime I paid for the coaching program. And I still have that knowledge. And so when she said, "I want to do this," I said, find somebody to help you and shorten that timeline, because I don't have time in my life to make every mistake. I need somebody else to help.
Yeah.
Well, and that's really honestly how we look at it. Now, I mean, not every coaching program is a good one, right? And so you vetted your real estate coach, and you guys vetted us. And, yes, we've been doing it for a long time, and we have a lot of deals, and we're very active in the business. So I think we fit some good measurable things that somebody should ask. I don't like to call myself a guru, because it's been such a misused word, right? Yeah. I'm just a guy that's been doing it for about 44 years and know a whole lot of ways, Jason, as you said, knowing not what to do, right? Not just what to do, but knowing not what to do, right?
Yes.
But we really, you guys, we've become friends with you guys. We've gotten to know your story well. You guys, by the way, for the audience, they've done non-performing notes. They've done performing notes. They've created notes on their own properties. And so you guys have utilized a number of different things, all under the note strategy, right?
Right.
What's tomorrow bring?
Well, we are currently looking to create notes from deals that realtors keep bringing me, wanting me to give them ideas on how to make some money and make everybody in the deal happy. So we're hoping to create some notes. I haven't sold a partial yet, so that should be on my list of things to do.
There you go. Yeah.
But I have been having some good luck hypothecating, and I'm actually trying to broker a couple of notes right now too. So
Awesome.
Trying all the things.
So hypothecating, you're taking a note and you're pledging that note to a lender and you're borrowing money against that note.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So somebody's lending you money, but your note is their collateral.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. You guys are awesome. We really, really appreciate your being on with us today. For sure. You guys have done some very interesting, innovative deals. Every time that I know you guys bring a case study to us, it's really funny. Emily, I want to tell one little funny story on you before we leave. Can I do that?
Sure.
Sometimes, let me just say something. I'm not smart enough to be an eye doctor. Okay. Let me just be clear about that. Okay.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I'm not even smart enough to be a software engineer like Jason is, but I'm 100% sure I'm not smart enough to be an eye doctor. But one of the things that I thought was really funny is that somewhere in jest and conversation along the way, you made a statement, and Joe and I remember this.
Mm.
You said, I was so intimidated by the calculator when I first started that I did not think I could be successful at this. Right? And the answer is, along the way with our program, we could run numbers for you and do a little calculator whiz. Yeah. It didn't stop you in a moment from going and implementing the deals. And guess what she's now learned how to do, Joe?
Got to run that calculator like a whiz.
My favorite party trick now. I get my calculator out and I'm like, oh, do you want to know how much interest you'd get paid if you had this mortgage at this rate? Look at that.
Well, Emily, do you do it like this? Is one better than two, and you flip it around like that, and three is better than four?
Like I can add that.
Anyway, I thought that was a share for our audience, because sometimes we have a little bit of a disbelief, and sometimes that disbelief will stop us from progressing. And I just wanted them to realize that, because somebody sees you guys today and you're kind of rock stars, and they're like, well, but they don't know quite what it looked like the day you started, right?
There was a whole lot of, why doesn't this work?
I remember,
okay, let's go watch the video again.
Yes, I remember her first couple of deal lab conversations and stuff, and she's smart and she asks good questions. Always. And we, how you learn this, right? One thin layer of paint at a time.
There you go.
All right, thank you guys. You're awesome,
guys. Thank you so much, Emily, Jason. You're amazing. And guys, that's just, as we always say, that's just what we have at Note School. And I know that, again, triple threat, right? Performing loans, non-performing loans, and creative financing. Does all three and puts them all together and does amazing deals. So guys, again, we would love to have you at one of our 2-hour master classes that are done by none other than Mr. Speed and our Chief Market Officer, Max Keller. We'd love to have you at one of those. Just go to noteschool.com/TV and just put in there, I'd love to attend a 2-hour masterclass, and we would like to have you. We'd love to have you, and we look forward to seeing you very soon. But next week, we will see you, same place, same time, 11:05 Central Time. And it will be our monthly update. And man, we have been racking up the stories for that. So can't wait to share those with you next week. Have a great week. Stay warm, stay out of the ice, and we'll see you next time.